this panel is going to have two different parts to it. The first part is going to be a moderated Q&A where I'm going to ask some questions and our panelists are going to answer those questions. And then the second part is where all of you, the students, and if there are any recent graduates here, any of you can ask your questions and our panelists can take turns answering those questions as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share our question screen, and then I'm going to ask our first question. Give me 1 second to transition here. Okay, perfect. Hopefully everyone can see both my face and the PowerPoint. Yes, thumbs up, hopefully. Okay, great. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Awesome, very good. All right, so we're going to start with our first question then, and I can kind of help the order in which who answers first. I'll go with whoever's on my screen first. So our first question is, please tell the audience your name, what year you graduated from NAU, your NAU degrees, and where you went abroad with IGP. And I see Amanda on my screen first, so I'll start with you.
Okay, sounds good. So hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Lynn Robinson. I graduated from NAU in December 2015 with degrees in biology, chemistry, and modern languages. And I spent my year abroad in 2014 in Orsay, France, at what was then known as L'Université Paris Sud, and which is now known as L'Université Paris-Saclay, which is just 20 kilometers south of Paris.
Great, I'll have Mason go next.
There we go. Unmute myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Mason. I graduated also in December of 2015, so it's been a hot minute. I majored in microbiology, international affairs, and modern languages, German emphasis. And I went to Constance, Germany, right in the south, and worked in a molecular biology lab during my internship time.
Great, thanks, Mason. Next, I'll have Melissa introduce herself.
Can everybody hear me?
No.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry, so sorry. My name is Melissa Parsons. I graduated in December of 2022. I graduated with mechanical engineering and then comparative cultural studies, Japanese emphasis. And I studied abroad at Kyushu University in Fukuoka, Japan, and I was part of the systems control lab while I was there. In 2019, 2020 was my cohort year.
Great, thank you, Melissa. Sorry, I took down the view because it looked like it was only showing me. So now hopefully you can see our presenters, our panelists' face. I'll have Fatima go next.
Good morning. My name is Fatima. I graduated December of 2023. I have a bachelor's in biomedical and agricultural studies, and I was a guinea pig for Yamaguchi University in Japan, and I studied in a microbiome laboratory, if I remember correctly. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Fatima. I think the audio was just a little grainy. Fatima's over in Japan, so good reason for that to happen. So we'll let you know, Fatima, if it gets grainy again, but I think for the most part, we could hear you. And then last but not least, we'll have Jordan go.
I'm Jordan Upton. I graduated from NAU in 2021, May 2021. I have a degree in biology as well as modern languages, emphasis Spanish, and I studied abroad in Alicante, Spain. And I worked in a molecular zoology lab there.
Great, thank you, Jordan. All right, so our next question is, give me 1 second. Okay, so this one's a little more related to your time abroad still. Um, but tell us a bit more about one of your most impactful memories from abroad and how you will still use what or how you still use what you learned from it today. And I'll go ahead and put that in the chat since I don't think my system is going to work of trying to share the screens so that they can see your faces. And we can start with Melissa this time. You're willing, Melissa?
I am willing. Okay. One of my most impactful memories. Um, Personally, so when I got to Japan and I started my lab, because it's a mechanical engineering lab, it was a little bit different. So it spanned over two semesters instead of one. At least that's kind of what it was supposed to be. I did have to come back early because of COVID, but my most impactful memory in that lab situation was actually figuring out what I wanted to do engineering wise. I got in there and they said I could do anything that I wanted, any project that I wanted. And it was really daunting and overwhelming. But I really tried to play to my strengths. So SolidWorks and design were a lot of my strengths back in the day. So I kind of went with that and pushed forward specifically for my project. I did a redesign of a lower limb exoskeleton while I was there. And I carried all those skills that I learned design wise, SolidWorks wise, designing 3D models, brought that here. And that's actually how I got my current job today, was because of everything that I learned, well, relearned there. And I figured out that I really like that and I want to carry that forward into my career. So, yeah, I'm still pushing forward with it.
That's awesome. Glad to hear, it was really impactful for you. How about Mason? Would you be willing to share your most impactful memory from abroad?
Yeah, one of the ones that I can think of that kind of carries into like what I'm doing with my career today, I think is Germany is very bureaucratic, if anyone has experienced that yet. And so I remember there was just a lot of paperwork and a lot of going to like town hall and trying to figure everything out to with my immigration. And it really, I think, me being going into or transitioning into a career as a physician now, I keep that memory pretty close because it really helps me put kind of some of my own patient struggles, not understanding the public health system, not understanding some of the bureaucracy that we have ourselves, and being that feeling of kind of being lost that really sticks with me to today, and I carry that with me, and it helps, I think, shape my empathy for others in a lot of ways.
Awesome. Thanks, Mason. That yeah, cultural empathy that you learn, the feeling you learn when you're abroad, you can really understand more about minority populations and being kind of different in different environments back in our home country. So thanks. How about Amanda? Can you share your most impactful memory?
Yeah, so mine has to do with adjusting to the way that things are graded maybe differently between France and in the US. So the French grading system is notoriously difficult. It's out of 20. 7 out of 20 is passing. And if you get basically 15, that's an amazing grade. And on the very first exam I had here, I got a 2. Which for me was the first time I had ever failed anything. And it wasn't just that I failed, it was like really bad failing. And a coincidence happened when I was walking back after getting the exam, like the corrected exam copy. I was walking back to my apartment and I was listening to music, trying to focus on something else. And a song came on. I can show you exactly where I was when this song came on. It's Try by Pink, which is a bit old now, and it has nothing to do with professional like experiences. But the line is where there's desire, there's going to be a flame. And where there's a flame, someone's bound to get burned. But just because it burns doesn't mean you're going to die. You've got to get up and try. And so this has become like a mantra for me. Like every time I'm in a new situation where I'm really want something, but I'm a little afraid that maybe I won't get it, I just remind myself, well, I want it. There's a flame. I might get burned, but if I don't try, I can't have it. So it's really helped me move forward in all these different steps in my career.
Awesome. Good, good advice. Or kind of embedded in that memory for sure. If you don't try, you don't know, failure only means you tried. So nice. I'm gonna have Jordan share her memory next.
I'm going to say my most impactful memory from abroad is I was at a pub in Spain and I found an Erasmus card on the ground. And I was like, what is Erasmus? I don't know. And I figured out that in Alicante, and I think throughout Europe, that all the students are studying abroad, and there's all of these different like clubs and platforms where they put together trips for all the study abroad kids to meet and make friends and hang out. And I picked finding the card because it felt weird to say like all of my Erasmus trips, but it was super impactful to find out that there was an already predetermined like way to make friends abroad, because that was really hard my first couple of weeks. I only knew the other kids from NAU, and going on these trips I was able to meet a lot of people, and I learned how to ask questions and introduce myself and use the people I was meeting, say like in Portugal, to introduce me to more people in Spain. And it just kind of grew my network really fast. And I work in the government, so networking is one of the most important things you do there. And I still use that today. So it's all about who you know and how to meet people.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah, networking's a big one, and that's one of our IGP global skills. So great. And then we'll have Fatima finish us out on this question.
Can everyone hear me? Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. I think my most impactful memory had to be just the language immersion. In all of my classes, my first semester, there were teachers who would speak a bit of English and Japanese, because some of the times I wouldn't get their explanations. But there was one teacher who just wouldn't do any of that. She would email you in English, but everything would just be like in Japanese. So no matter how many times I would ask the same question, she just gave it to me in a variety of different ways in Japanese. So I was like, oh my gosh. But actually, thanks to her, I will say that my listening and my like comprehension skills really did go up. So when I work with the kids now, I try my best to do exactly as she did, because it is important to kind of really grasp like the listening. So even though I was like, I wish you would tell me in English, it really did help me. So I hope to do the same now.
Thank you, Fatima. And I'm sure your students kind of understand that too when you use English with them. Yeah. Very nice. Okay. So our next question is, tell us about your current career and a little bit about the path you took to get here and how IGP and your time abroad contributed to this. And I will let's have Mason go first on this one.
Okay, current career. I'm about to graduate medical school here in about 2.5 weeks. I'm going into urologic surgery. So pretty excited about that. Not ready for the 80 to 100 hour work weeks, but I'll just have to suck it up. Um, as I mentioned, I graduated in 2015 from NAU. So it's been almost 11 years now, which is kind of crazy. But I worked in regenerative medicine and stem cell biology for about 5.5, 6 years after I finished at NAU, and then decided to go back to school. And yeah, so took a meandered kind of my way down. And then my time abroad, I would say getting my research position out of undergrad, that internship was really important. A lot of these entry level positions these days, they still want you to have experience, and it's kind of a double whammy. You it obviously shows that you challenge yourself by going abroad and doing these things, and immersing yourself in another culture and kind of a unfamiliar place. Um, so I would say that that experience definitely helped me. A lot of the lab skills helped get me ready to be able to start that position and do really well for a little over 5 years. Yeah. So
Awesome. I think it's good to highlight too that you don't always have to follow a really like rigid, specific, like the path everyone tells you to take, and that you can get back to whatever path you want to take in your future. And having like two different degrees and kind of being able to have that flexibility is also helpful. So thanks. How about we have Jordan go next on telling us a little about your current career?
I am a microbiologist at the CDC. I work in a virology sequencing lab, and um, I graduated at NAU. I worked in a lab at NAU when I was there with bats, and I took that to a graduate program in Georgia, also with bats. And after that, I just took a big jump into public health, and now I work with measles. So very different. I think IGP contributed. I leaned very heavily on it in interviews and talking about my experience abroad. Everyone asks about teamwork, teammanship, and perseverance, and no one can persevere like an IGP kid who has been dropped in a foreign country. And so, yeah, also like the lab skills from working abroad, that was super helpful. And I also was able to use those a lot at NAU specifically, which was helpful in just getting me more experience when I got back from being abroad. That 5th year, I worked at the Pathogen and Microbiome Institute. So that was super helpful to have experience that led to more experience before I even graduated.
Nice. There's a consistent thing, experience, a consistent theme here. Awesome. I'm glad to hear you all are still using your IGP experience. Fatima, would you be willing to go next?
Okay. So I am currently an assistant language teacher in Hiroshima, Japan. So it's actually like almost 6:30 in the morning right now. I teach 2 elementary schools and 2 junior high schools. And before coming here, I actually worked at ISSS in CIE, and that was a lot of fun. So my original end goal was to be a pediatrician because I wanted to help children. That's why I studied biomed. But when I did my internship abroad, or like my study abroad, I tutored children on the side, and I found a lot of joy in doing this. So I would engage with them, and I found a way to help and like care for them that didn't have to do with science. And I really liked this. So that's kind of what led me to come back and try it a little bit more. So it wasn't actually, so yeah, I'm nowhere near where I originally wanted to go, but that's okay. I'm having fun.
And that's great. You know, sometimes our lives lead us down surprising paths. And again, this is a great example of ways that you can use both your degrees, or you can use one and lean on the other at certain times in your life too. So great example. Thanks, Fatima. All right. And Amanda, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I was recently appointed as an assistant professor in the Institut Universitaire de Technologie de Toulouse as a chemist. And so to get to this point, I followed a very traditional, straightforward path. So that is also an option. You can meander, but you can also go straight for it. So I did the bachelor's. After the bachelor's, I returned to France to do my master's because in France, in Europe in general, you have to do a master's before you can do the PhD. After doing the master's, I did my PhD. Then I did 2 postdocs. And then one thing that's specific to France is something that's called the concours. It's a competition that you have to do in order to be appointed to some kind of public service position, including research or also assistant professorships. And so that's what I did. And in my case, IGP was crucial because it's how I started on the path to fluency, because I couldn't have this position if I wasn't fluent in French. And it helped me start building my network in France also. So both of these were extremely important to getting me to this moment.
Amazing. Thanks, Amanda. Melissa was having some trouble with her phone overheating. Melissa, are you back?
I am back. I do apologize. I'm out on the job site today, so we're a little bit scarce here.
Oh, that's okay. All good.
So I kind of went with the mechanical engineering side after I graduated. So I graduated straight up with just a regular mechanical engineering degree. I actually worked in maintenance for manufacturing for a little while. And then, kind of like what I talked about before, I remembered how much I loved design and kind of like project lead and stuff like that. So, my current job at my company is I am a project engineer, and I actually built that up from being hired as a mechanical designer. And as a designer, I have designed everything from landing gear parts to chemical plating lines. I have a very wide variety. And currently, project wise, I'm working on two projects. The first one is called HVOF, it's high velocity oxygen fusion. And it's a type of high velocity plating for, again, airplane parts. And then the second one is to redesign something called a tow bar. It literally is used to just tow planes around. But all my experience is kind of from IGP. I actually, like I said, I learned what I was passionate about and what I actually was good at, because I felt like I was kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. And IGP definitely led me to kind of narrow down my focus and figure out what I was passionate about and what I wanted to do. And along with that, Mason kind of mentioned it as well, the communication part of going abroad and learning how to talk to different people, not only in your target language, but regularly and interact with them, has huge impacts later on. I get to travel around a lot for my job and get to talk to all kinds of people and interact with all kinds of people. And those communication skills and networking skills that you learn in IGP genuinely are invaluable. It's absolutely wonderful, and it has impacted me and helped me a lot through this job.
That's awesome. Thanks, Melissa. It's cool to know that you're, reporting from your site. Very awesome. And yeah, I think, the intercultural skills you learn are not only applicable in your host countries, but like here in the United States too. We live in a multicultural country, right? So, and there's different cultures within different working companies and things like that too. So I think Melissa speaks to that well, is that you will use those in many different ways in your future. So thanks, Melissa. All right. And I think we have one more question for you all. Let me pull it up for you with my funny little system here. Okay. Our final question is, what do you wish you knew as an undergrad entering the workforce or entering into your further schooling? And what advice would you give our current students or our recent grads related to this? And I'll start with Jordan this time.
I think my biggest advice is to just ask for help when you need it. I'm really stubborn. I didn't want to when I was an undergrad or abroad or in grad school. And had I just been like, I am not doing as well as I think I'm doing on this project, or keeping all my work and life stuff balanced, and just spoke to the people who were there to help me, I think I would have done things so much better and faster. So yeah.
Nice.
Asking for help's a big one.
It is a big one. And we have so many resources between IGP and other parts of NAU campus, and also at your host country campuses. And sometimes it is scary to ask, but it can be a big help. So I think that's really good advice, Jordan. Thank you. How about we go with Amanda next?
So I think my advice is to keep in perspective that your job is your job, and that it's not your whole life. Work-life balance is extremely important. You can't get through life if you're just putting, well, maybe if you are like Mason and doing very important work, you should put in the hours. But for the rest of us, we can have a bit more work-life balance, because chances are, in a lot of cases, we're going to change jobs a lot. You're going to wear a lot of different hats in your life. Your job isn't your only part of your identity. There's lots more things to do. So just give yourself some space to develop something outside of your work so that you always have something to lean on when things maybe don't go as expected.
Great advice. And I think applicable to current students too. You know, we want you to excel in your academics, but we also want you to make sure you, especially you enjoy your time abroad and you find a balance there. So great advice. Thanks, Amanda. I'll have Fatima go next.
I have three things for you. One is it's okay if you don't follow or don't get the job that you thought you wanted. Job hunting is very difficult anywhere. So it's okay if that doesn't happen. You can stray a little bit and still do well. Also, in case something does happen and you can't reach your end goal, for example, like me, I didn't go to med school and do all that. Don't be afraid to disappoint people. My father was very upset with me when I told him I'm going to be an ALT, and he did not like that one bit. And I almost didn't go through with this, but it's your life, so please do as you like and live as you want to. And lastly, you should be, in case of new opportunities, or just stay a little open-minded to what the future can hold. So I will give you these three things.
That's great. Thanks, Fatima. Very good advice here. Let's see. We have two more, right? I think Melissa and Mason. I'll have Melissa go next.
One thing that I do want to say is some good advice is to not take, you're going to take this how you can, to not take things a little bit too seriously. Kind of like what Fatima was saying, that your life and your interests can go everywhere. You can go everywhere and anywhere. And yes, school is important, but definitely it's not as important as you're going to think it is or how it feels in the moment. And another piece of advice is that you are not alone in a lot of the processes that you do. A lot of people have felt the exact same way and are, nervous about graduating, nervous about going abroad, new jobs, things like that. And you're definitely not alone. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be vulnerable with how you're feeling and emotions and things like that. So, yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, I think you all are hitting the nail on the head. Good advice. I think these are stressors that current students have. So I think it's good to hear from their alumni that it's okay. All right. And last but not least, we have Mason to finish us out with some advice or something you wish you knew.
Well, Amanda, as she said, it's a long path and it's a lot of work going to medical school. I wish I had realized that a little bit sooner in my undergrad years. I'm not sure what the pre-med advising is like at any unit anymore, but it just wasn't really much of a thing back in my time. And so it was a lot of work. I think, later on in the game, I'm definitely a non-traditional medical student, but at the same time, while it is a lot of work, everything in balance, work hard, play hard, and you have to make sure that you have hobbies and ways to unwind as well along the journey. Everyone that participates in IGP will, learn a lot of technical language and challenge themselves in a lot of ways that your peers back home won't. They won't have those kinds of experiences. And so lean into it, embrace it, and stay sane.
Very good. Yeah, and I think, these are applicable when you graduate and applicable for your time in IGP because everyone here is an overachiever and works very, very hard. And, it's important to recognize we are still humans and we need to take care of ourselves in addition to, holding ourselves to a high standard, right? So thank you all for your advice. And the next part we're going to do is the time for all of the current students or recent graduates, whoever is our audience today, to ask your questions. So for this portion, either you can unmute and ask, raise your hand first and then unmute and ask your question, or you can put your questions in the chat. We have a couple extra questions should there not be any, or if people need a little time to think. But if we have anyone who's ready to ask a question, now is your chance. All right. Well, if there's not any questions, I have a couple that some students submitted. Oh, okay, we have one here. All right. Your microphone. So Laina has a question. Her microphone isn't working, but what did you find was the best way to go about finding an internship for those who had to find their internship in their year abroad?
I can start. So I was the first person at Universität Konstanz. And so basically what I did is I looked at all of the departments that the university had, looked at the ones that I was interested in, and cold emailed the principal investigators. That's kind of I think it's pretty standard practice even in the workforce in academia. That's okay to cold email somebody. It shows that you have interest in their field, and that you're kind of a go-getter.
And I can add to that, the way that I found my internship was that every class that I took during the first semester, I introduced myself to the professor for that class. And that was one part of it. And then I did like Mason did. I looked at all the different labs. I knew that I wanted it to be a chemistry internship, so I just focused on chemistry, but I looked at all the different labs. And I contacted someone who, in the end, happened to work in the lab where one of my professors was. So it was a really good thing that I had introduced myself already to the head professor of the lab, because I think that really, that's what got my foot in the door, and that's how I got the internship that I got.
I can follow up with that. I also went to all of my professors and introduced myself and thought I found someone I wanted to work with. This guy worked with flies. And so I like printed my resume, brought it to him, slapped on his desk, and he read it. And I'd already been working in a lab at NAU. But he was like, no, we're not going to work together. And then he just brought me to another guy who had a zoology lab, and that was more aligned with things that I knew how to do, and left me there. And then I had to speak to this professor I'd never met about what he did, and I had to learn a lot of vocabulary on the spot. And I just kind of shoved my resume at him, and it worked out. But definitely introduce yourself to your professors.
That is good advice. And apparently it can take you on some adventures, but eventually land you where you need to be, it sounds like. Very nice. All right. While other students think of questions, we had some pre-submitted questions that I can ask. One of our students who perhaps wasn't able to attend had a question for Amanda. This student is studying German and hopes to do a PhD in Germany and is wondering how you did it all. It seems unnerving to have to learn a language to that proficiency to teach at the college level in your host country. What would you say helped you the most in this journey, and what advice would you give to your undergraduate self?
Yes, so I think that there's three parts to it. The first part is wanting it. So already, if you have the goal in mind that you want to do the PhD and that you're interested in doing it we'll say in Germany, because that's the case for this question, but in any country, wanting it is already part of it. The other people here, Mason, Jordan, who have done graduate studies can attest how it's the next level. It's a bit harder, and you have to find the reason that you're going through it. And so if you want the PhD, that's already a good part of it. The second part of it is going to have to do a lot with also letting yourself learn about yourself in the moment. So when I was undergrad, I wanted to do the PhD, and I thought I wanted to do it in France. I thought I wanted to do it in organic synthesis, which now we're getting a bit technical with the chemistry side of it. I am not an organic chemist. And I learned I wasn't an organic chemist by doing the master's. And I let myself adjust and figure out more about myself during the master's that put me on the track to be a coordination chemist, to work with complexes with metals. And then, so yes, so the first part is wanting it. The second part is letting yourself adjust and learn about yourself in the process of getting there. And then the last thing is just to remember that it's a lot of luck. So there's no point in saying in 5 years, I'm going to do a PhD in this lab and I can't do it anywhere else, because maybe you'll learn that you're not cut out to do what you thought you were cut out to do. And then the second thing is, like Jordan was mentioning, there's a lot of, you have to be in the right place at the right time with the right people. In academia, there's a lot of, it's about who you know, and about who you know at the moment that they have the money to be able to hire you to do a PhD or something like this. So there's a part of it where you have to just accept that by doing the PhD, by wanting to do the PhD, you're going to have to let the fate take you where it's going to take you. But I think it's worth it.
Great, solid advice. Oh, and Pri just mentioned that 2 of our current level 5s just got accepted into German universities for master programs. So hopefully they can watch this and listen to your advice. I think even if it's not a PhD, it's still, any kind of further schooling, this kind of information is applicable, even if you're not going to do it abroad. So very nice.
And I just thought the student asking might want to hear about that it's a very recent accomplishment from our level 5. So it's doable. Just have to work towards that.
Yes, absolutely. And 2 members of our panel here are both living abroad in their host countries that they studied in too. So super awesome. Okay, we have a question here. So Kristen Salmons has a question here. I've noticed that a lot of the classes during the year abroad are cultural ones. I don't know if that's just how my schedule worked out, but were the teachers you introduced yourself to more on the language side or the STEM or business side? I guess probably STEM for those who are looking for professors.
I don't know how all the other schools worked, but I signed myself up for, I don't know if the number's the same, but essentially what Bio 182 was when I was at NAU, like that second year freshman biology. I took that in Spain. I made sure that it counted as like a new science credit. I worked with the IGP people because I wanted to have a science class and learn the words, but not fail. So the way it was set up in Spain is that all the students sit in the same classroom all day and take the same classes together. And then I would go in and out because I had different also cultural classes. But I would come back in and there'd be different teachers, different days. And I think they were teaching different blocks. But that was kind of an interesting way for me to meet a bunch of different teachers. Every time there was a new teacher, I would say hi, make sure they knew that I was not a native speaker, and introduce myself as someone looking for an internship.
I can speak to this a little bit as well. At least at my university, we could audit classes, so it was kind of like no harm, no foul. So I actually went to a lot of STEM classes like anatomy, biology, and not for anything like credit, but just going in to make sure that I was following the material, understanding the material. Thankfully for like science, a lot of it's, Greek and Latin based, so it's pretty similar anyway. But you can also do that and not receive credit, and so it's a little bit less pressure, but still get the familiarity.
Mason, I did much of the same being in Japan. We were able to audit classes. So all of my engineering classes I audited. They were taught in English, but these were pretty advanced engineering classes in comparison to what I was used to. But I still had a lot of cultural classes, and I found that going through a lot of these cultural classes and the language classes, same kind of thing that the group that we when we moved class to class to class, it was kind of all the same people, and there were several people who also were going through engineering, and so we just kind of all together moved along from class to class to class. But yeah, definitely look into auditing classes if you're a little bit nervous about it. That definitely helped.
I'm not really sure if if the classes where I went were audited or not, because I mostly just focused on language since I had covered most of my science credits at NAU. I did go out of my own way and I signed up for like a science course. So it was just completely in Japanese. There were like second year students all around me, and I would sit with the professor at the end of the day to like re-go over it. I don't know why I took such a leap. Like it was definitely an experience, but yeah, I mostly just had fun learning the language. I was mostly there just for language in Japan.
Thanks. Very good. I think Kristen got some good answers. Oh, and Jordan followed up in the chat for Kristen a little more too. Great. Are there any other questions in the current students who are in the room that have any questions? Otherwise, I'll jump back to our pre-submitted questions. All right, I'll switch over to one of those for now. This one's a little bit specific to Jordan. One of the students asked, how did you get to be an established microbiologist? I always feel that I fall short because my grades aren't perfect, and I'm wondering if you've ever dealt with inadequacy and how you've dealt with that feeling is what I think they're asking.
Okay. That's hard. I'm sorry if you feel that way. It is very easy to feel that way in science. And oh, thank you for posting it. That was a lot to remember.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, grades are important. I'm not going to say that I didn't like work. I went to office hours when I struggled in one of my classes, and that was really helpful. Your professors don't just do those because they have to. Like, fun fact, if you go to their office hours, they will sit there with you and review the material. I thought they were also fake until I had to go to office hours, and I really turned my grade around in my annual phys class. So, highly recommend if you're struggling. That's also a good way to network with your professors, and maybe they have lab experience and you can get experience before you go abroad. But if you're struggling, that's the first place I would go. Um, if you have a couple of bad grades, then I would say you need to beef up your resume with some experience. And the next place I would go for that would be to the Office of Undergraduate Research. Me and Mira go way back. I used to be in her office all the time when she did that work. Her and Tina are truly the engineers of my success. So they have essentially like free money there, where if you go and you're willing to put the work in and apply for the grants, they'll give you money, which you can then take to a professor and be like, I'm really cool and I can pay my own salary and you should give me research experience. And a lot of professors are very into that. They like when people come and help them also. You know, everyone has to help each other. Yeah, Tina is amazing. So definitely like in my undergraduate time, those would be my two big things is go to office hours, let your professors help you. They're in there waiting for you. They're bored. And then Office of Undergraduate Research. Everyone there is really nice and they will give you all the resources. And as for becoming an established microbiologist after all of that, I said this earlier, but it really is all networking. You have to have some of the experience, but I have found in a professional setting that it's all about like who you know. I have a master's degree where I studied bat diseases, and that's not super lucrative. It was fun. It didn't really take me anywhere. And my professor in grad school got his grad degree with someone who worked at the CDC. And she sent an email to all these people asking for ORISE fellows. And it was because my professor had this connection and I had the lab skills to back it up, if not the actual experience in public health. And so that kind of got me into her email and her like face to face. And so that was not great. The ORISE program no longer exists at the CDC. If anyone's a recent graduate, also, it does exist in other government facilities, like the FBI and NASA has ORISE positions, and I think there's micro ones. And so I would check those out. CDC might get them in a different world in like 4 years. It might come back. But after my ORISE, I was kind of just like floundering, not really sure what I'm to do. And my ORISE mentor met someone at the CDC who was hiring and introduced me to her, and that's where I got my job right now. So learn how to talk to people and let them know who you are, and they will open doors for you as much as your own resume and skills will.
Awesome advice. I think, networking, it can be scary, but it is helpful. And office hours also sound scary, but they can be super helpful. I can't vouch for NAU because I wasn't a student here, but I went to them both as an undergrad and a master's student. And just like you, Jordan, if I didn't go to office hours for my statistics class, I wouldn't have gotten through it. So they are there for you. So I do recommend you all to use them. Yeah, take advantage because that's part of their job. Okay. Looks like we don't have any other questions yet in the chat. No one has their hands raised. I have a couple other ones here. I think this one might be, you all kind of already sort of answered this, but I think there could be some curiosity from our younger students. What was taking classes while abroad like? And that's pretty broad, but what was your experience like? How were the classes different, or how were they the same?
I think Amanda kind of touched up on it a little bit with the differences in grading systems. So outside of my official IGP cohort in Germany, I also did a year abroad in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong, they have a totally different grading system. They don't believe in giving A's. They think if you can get an A in this course, you can teach this course. So I mean, that hit me like a ton of bricks, especially. I mean, I had kind of been on the track for medicine, but then I remember when I was abroad in Hong Kong, I didn't get a single A. That does not look good on medical school applications. And so that was really challenging. But and I remember I was like, maybe I should just go home early. Like this, I'm blowing my GPA, but uh, there were greater and larger lessons to take out of it. So, don't necessarily stress about your grades. You will be able, it'll be a talking piece. And eventually, these experiences make you unique. And I think more attractive in the job market later on.
And I can jump in. So I think a lot more is similar than you would think before you've been abroad for like how we teach, because at the end of the day, teaching is its own like we'll say realm of things. Like there's people who study how people learn the best, and in a way these kinds of ideas are what we do all over the world. So you're going to have lectures that are very similar to what you see at NAU. There can be differences in France, also like in Spain, like what Jordan was saying. Sometimes the professors change in the same class because they teach different blocks of the class. One thing that's specific to France, I don't know if it's in other European countries, but in France, in addition to having the lectures, we also have a part of the class that's called the Travaux Dirigés, the TD, which is most similar to, we'll say, like a remediation course that we have in the US, or supplemental instruction that maybe you have attended at NAU. And this course, it's not optional like it is in the US. You have to attend it, but it's the same idea. You have basically your homework problems. You're supposed to try to do your homework problems, and then you go to the class and the professor shows you how to do the problems. And so it's a different way to get to the same goal. It's more or less, you'll find it's a lot more similar than what you might think. There's no reason to feel anxious.
I think they had something like that in Alicante, but no one told me. I was there with another girl, Jackie, and we took a molecular cooking class together. And we thought it was going to be like a fun cooking class. It was organic chemistry of cooking. It was really hard. And we studied really hard. Like neither of us, like we understand concepts and thought we had a hang of it. We went to the final and there was concepts we had never heard of on there. Like had no idea what this test was talking about in some points. Following up on your story, Amanda, like I failed that class. I got a 2 also. She ended up passing us. I don't know what pity she took on us, but um that was like very surprising. So maybe ask your professors abroad too, like what you need to know for your tests, because there's no homework to pad your grade. It's just that final in some of your courses.
I also think something can be said of making friends within your courses. So like in Japan, and it sounds like it was kind of the same with you guys, that your same kind of group of people migrated from class to class to class. Definitely talk to each other, hang out. I mean, in Japan, it was pretty similar to, courses that we have here in the US. Obviously, your final test is worth everything. Your homework is worth nothing. But in terms of teaching style, your language courses and your cultural classes, they want you to ask questions, to talk, to do these kinds of things. Your STEM classes are definitely, I think, a little bit more reserved, but same kind of thing. Make friends, ask questions, study groups. Uh, it's pretty universal, at least in my experience.
I'm going to jump on that too really fast. Something I struggled with is when I was using Spanish full time to talk to my peers, they weren't super interested in helping me. But when I was like, you guys can practice your English with me and I'll speak in Spanish, they got way more excited. So you can use your English proficiency as currency if you need to, but still make sure you're able to practice a little bit with them because that was really helpful in helping me learn as well.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing with Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
My lab mates were very excited for me to read their English like reports, and then they were excited to try to read my Japanese reports. So, yep, agreed.
And just one last thought on this. I don't think it's the case for Spain. I consider Spain a very warm country. But if you're going to France, if you're going to Germany, if you're going to Japan, these cultures are a bit colder. So you can lean into the fact that you're American and you just kind of fake it till you make it. Like even if I'm not naturally overly bubbly American talking with whoever is in the hallway next to me, but I find that in France, if I lean into it just a little bit, the little bit that I have more from being American really, it breaks the ice and it makes it so much easier because people expect it from you when you're American.
Everyone shared really nice ideas. I would say get out of your comfort zone. I joined classes filled with native students. Why? God only knows, but I was the only foreigner in those classes. Like I did the science class with the second year Japanese kids, all of them Japanese, no English, just Japanese. And then there was like the interpretation class that I took and the translation and interpretation, 2 different courses. Why? I don't know. But I made so many friends. So, and you can help each other. So I made a group with like some girls and they would be like, "Oh, does this sound right in English?" when it was like the translation to English. And I would be like, "Well, does this make sense when it's the translation now to Japanese?" And we would kind of just be like, yeah, I think so. I think so. So it's just nice to get that intercultural. And even now I'm still friends with them. So it's just, just do it. What's the worst that can happen? Just do it.
Nice. I appreciate there's advice within learning about what the classes were like abroad too. But it sounds like networking again is a big one. And on Amanda's point about leaning into being American, I think that that is a fact that will happen to you when you are abroad. And it's important to just recognize that sometimes you can use it to your advantage. And it can be hard because not all of us are extroverted, outgoing people, but you can lean into it a little. Sometimes it'll reward you. Awesome. Well, I guess we're about at time. So I think we'll finish up. But I want to say a big thank you to all of our panelists for spending their afternoon with us. And thank you to all of the attendees who spent their afternoon with us as well. Um, and if any of you are interested in connecting with our alumni on this panel, I don't know if any of the alumni would be willing to quick put in the chat any of their, like an email contact. And if people don't get it written down in time, you can always email the IGP inbox or your region lead and we can get you connected. Because that is one of the great things about IGP and our study abroad graduates is we're all connected and we have this great community and it's important to lean on each other like all of our alumni were saying in their advice today. So, oh, thank you so much, everyone. So I'll give a second here for everyone to jot things down. But yeah, thanks again. And good luck to all of our panelists and specifically Mason on completing your degree. Or sorry, not your degree, your medical school degree.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it's a degree. I feel like it's a whole nother world that I don't really understand fully. And I know it's arduous, so
Thanks. I still don't understand it
congratulations.
either.
You're getting there. You're getting there. And certainly we have some really unique talent in this panel. So I think if any of you who are here or anyone who's listening to this recording later is interested in any of these paths, we can definitely get you connected again. So, all right. Well, thank you so much and have a good rest of your day, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.